So this video is going to be a little bit more comprehensive than the little reels that I did. But the reason I wanted to do a series on neurotransmitters is a couple of things. One, when we talk about genetics, we know that there are certain genetic mutations that we look at all the time and we talk about constantly that we really don't link to the neurotransmitters, but they have a very specific role when it comes to neurotransmitters. And so people with things like MTHFR need to understand that that also affects brain chemistry. COMT is another one that affects brain chemistry. And so I happen to have, I'm heterozygous compound for both MTHFR mutations. I do have a slow COMT, as well as issues with the glutathione cycle, particularly CYP and GST. And all of those things come together, and very often people with that combination have anxiety, depression, ADD, ADHD. And I've really been challenging this idea of anxiety, depression, and ADD and ADHD as diagnoses. Instead, I think of them as superpowers. There's a reason we have these things. There's a reason these genetic SNPs line up in certain people. And the more I've learned about what it takes to diagnose someone with ADHD, the more I hate that term, because ADHD has nothing to do with being a hyperactivity disorder, because it manifests very differently in boys and girls. It manifests very differently in different age groups. What it really is a problem raising dopamine levels very often, or what we call dopamine dysregulation. Most mental health issues, like anxiety and depression and ADD and ADHD, have low dopamine associations, whereas something like schizophrenia has high dopamine associations. And so I really wanted to break down some of the mental health stigma associated with those words and make people understand that when you're controlling your health and you're controlling your gut, you're also speaking to the brain and the neurotransmitters in the brain. And so all of these things are super connected. There isn't segregation in the body when it comes to disorders, symptoms, diseases, or diagnosis. Everything's connected, and it's not the way your doctor talks about these things, where they're so separate and their separate systems don't interact. That's not at all how the body works, and that's why allopathic medicine gets it wrong every damn time. And so I wanted to spend a lot of time, and this is something that I will revisit because it is very, very important to me. So we're going to talk a lot today about the different neurotransmitters. I've already talked a little bit about dopamine. So dopamine we call the focus neurotransmitter. It regulates alertness. It regulates motivation. It regulates your working memory or adaptive memory. And it plays a role in appetite and addiction. Epinephrine, which is also known as adrenaline, which we think of in terms of fight or flight, right? I mean, every time you think of adrenaline, you think of your heart racing because you are worried about something or scared or something along those lines. Now, adrenaline does much more than that. Adrenaline is actually the communicator neurotransmitter. It tells the other neurotransmitters what to do. It also regulates metabolism, and it is often it plays a role in focus, just like the dopamine does, because again, nothing works in a bubble. Panic, excitement, stress all trigger adrenaline. Then we have norepinephrine, also known as noradrenaline, which is your attention center. It focuses on concentration, and it is related to doubt, but also recall, so memory recall, long-term memory, and mental endurance, so being able to concentrate for long periods of time. And then you have serotonin, which we call the happiness hormone. Serotonin is our pleasure factory, but serotonin also plays a role in learning and in anxiety. And then we have melatonin. Serotonin has an inverse effect on melatonin. So the happier we are through the day, the better we sleep at night. in opposite cycles. So the more serotonin your body is producing in the intestines and receiving during the day, the more melatonin your body naturally creates, and the more calm you are at night, the easier it is for you to fall asleep. Because remember, serotonin helps us fall asleep, not necessarily stay asleep. We'll get to that. When we have low serotonin levels, we associate that with things like OCD or compulsivity or impulsivity, like addictions. When we have low dopamine, we think of slow reaction times. We think of an inability to focus, losing interest in things very quickly. And when low serotonin and low dopamine overlap with one another, we have depression, we have cravings, and that's why sometimes people who have low dopamine or low serotonin or both tend to overeat. With low serotonin, you will also see a decrease in 5-HTP. So remember, we talked a little bit about melatonin helping us fall asleep, but 5-HTP helps the brain remain calm. It lowers cortisol. It keeps us asleep at night, so we get a deeper, more restful, relaxing, restorative sleep. 5-HTP has been used in treatment as a natural treatment for anxiety. We use it for sleep. We use it to reduce cortisol, for adrenal fatigue. Many uses. All of these neurotransmitters come together and are involved in regulating our mood, our sleep, our attention, our learning, our cognition. But there's also physical symptoms that come when these things are not regulated, like loss of balance, cramping, muscle pain, a tendency towards muscle injuries or aches and pains, muscle spasms. But also the things that we think about when we think about low dopamine and low serotonin: depression, anxiety, low sex drive, lack of motivation, loss of interest in an activity, difficulty concentrating, insomnia, problems falling asleep, problems staying asleep, waking up throughout the night, thinking about things, the hamster wheel in the head. But also GI issues, because remember, the brain and the gut are connected via the vagus nerve. And so when your brain isn't functioning properly, your gut's not going to be functioning properly, and vice versa. If you have leaky gut, I promise you that you have problems with your brain function. The two are not isolated. Obesity and weight gain, right? Because we already talked about how this affects appetite, and it affects digestion, and it affects the ability for us to regulate metabolism. And then fatigue, because when you have low serotonin or low dopamine, you feel lethargic and you feel fatigued, and it's very hard to be motivated to do things. Have you ever noticed that when you're inactive, it's harder to get active, but if you're already active, it's like go, 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 and that's because your dopamine levels are high. And so how do we fix that? What do we do about it? Well, some of the biggest causes of low dopamine include infections, leaky gut, which is the root of all evil. We talk about that all the time. There is nothing that happens in your body that is not affected by the condition of your gut. Leaky gut or gut permeability and your gut microbiome. Every single part of your body relies on those two things heavily to regulate everything else. Your gut is not your second brain. It is significantly more important to your function and your health than your actual brain is. Your brain is secondary to the gut because, again, they talk back and forth via the vagus nerve, but your gut controls so many functions in your body, including hormone function. Associated with GI would be low stomach acid. And remember that things like acid reflux are not caused by too much hydrochloric acid in the stomach, but too little, or poor timing where the stomach acid comes in too late. That's what actually causes acid reflux and GERD. And that's why taking an antacid is the worst thing you could ever do for heartburn or acid reflux or GERD or whatever you want to call it. Vitamin deficiencies play a very instrumental role in serotonin, dopamine, epinephrine, and norepinephrine regulation. Magnesium, super important. We talk about how the body needs all 8 natural forms of magnesium. We talk about your B vitamins and why methylated B vitamins are so important, why both forms of natural folate have to be present, not just methylfolate, but folinic acid as well. And neither of those are folic acid. Folic acid is poisonous. It's not folate. It's not even remotely close. It looks like it, but they don't act the same. Then methylcobalamin. Again, cyanocobalamin is synthetic. It is not methylcobalamin, and you cannot get methylcobalamin from a plant. Vitamin D. We always talk about vitamin D in terms of mental health and in terms of immune health even. So vitamin D is important for the gut. Vitamin D is important for the brain. Vitamin D is important for the musculoskeletal system. But it does play a role in dopamine and serotonin production and regulation. Iron. Zinc. Zinc is huge, and zinc is so often overlooked. And not just folate and methylcobalamin, B9 and B12, but also B1, B2, B3, and B6. And we've talked before about how B6 also plays a role in sleep, and this is why, because it plays a role in dopamine, serotonin, and melatonin production. We talked about genetics, the MTHFR mutation, the COMT mutation, problems regulating glutathione production in the body, or natural detox mechanisms, certain prescriptions, especially prescriptions that block these things. So for example, zinc, iron, B12, B9, B1, B3 are all blocked by blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications, and acid reflux medications. They also can be affected by antipsychotics and antidepressants. Blood sugar dysregulation, insulin resistance. Insulin resistance affects our endocrine system. It affects our hormones, and it affects our neurotransmitters. These things are not isolated. So these topics that we talk about all the time overlap. And that's why they're so important. Your overall health is controllable by you when you understand how it works. And that is why we exist. Certain toxins like lead, arsenic, cadmium, certain heavy metals have an impact on our body's ability to detox from those things, have an effect on dopamine and serotonin levels, which also means that liver function plays a role, intestine function, digestion, because that is part of our detox system. And then obviously adrenal fatigue, high cortisol levels, taxing the adrenals, stress. Those things play a role. How you manage stress, because again, let's be honest, stress isn't going away. You're not going to ever be in a position where you don't have any stress. But how you react to stress, how you feel about stress, and how you respond to stress, that is within your control. And we don't all do it right all the time. But the more active we work on those things, the better at them we become. The more aware of how our body works, the more aware of how we respond, the better we are. So let's talk about solutions, because that's important. Diet, number one, obviously. Diet is the foundation of absolutely everything that we do. And let's be honest, you can't cheat, because the only person you cheat is you. So stop thinking about cheat days. Stop thinking about shirking the program. Stop thinking about this being temporary. This is a permanent lifestyle change so that your biology and your life now fit each other instead of being inconsistent with one another. And I talk about that a lot in the classes, and how we're biologically mismatched to what our design is. Our food doesn't match, our jobs don't match, our sedentary lifestyles don't match. We have to match our biology instead of trying to cram our biology into some convenient hole. Increase your protein. I don't know how many times I have to say this. No one's eating enough animal protein. Nobody. I promise you that. You've all been conditioned to eat less red meat, and that is the absolute worst thing you can do for your brain. Your brain requires amino acids, and there are 9 amino acids that are not found in any plant on the face of the planet. And this is why we are designed biologically to eat animals. Red meat, fish, wild game. You have to have animal protein every time you eat. And I cannot stress that enough. Those amino acids make up every cell in your body, and without them, you don't regenerate cells. but your brain requires B12, D3, and those amino acids, which all have to come from animals. There are no plant sources of those things. Same with vitamin A and K2. There's just no plant sources. So if you think giving up red meat is the key to your success, you are sadly mistaken and totally lied to. Critical nutrients, I already talked about that, and that's where your custom nutrition comes in, because between your custom nutrition, your epigenetic profile, and understanding your genetics, we can successfully pinpoint the most necessary nutrients for you. And that's going to be different than everybody else. And that is why we are the world's only truly customized nutrition platform. And that is why we experience success where others fail. Why our clients have results after they've failed and failed and failed with other practitioners, with other programs. It is because we address the individual and we adapt and evolve to the individual's needs as your health changes. We're the only ones that do that. Sleep hygiene is huge. You have to have a sleep routine. You have to work on getting good quality sleep. We have done so many videos on this. Every 90-day program that we do, every class that we teach, I talk about the importance of sleep, the importance of having a sleep routine, the importance of tracking your sleep and understanding what that means. And we're actually going to do a video on sleep metrics, which I think is really important, because I think so often people just assume because they're asleep, they're getting good sleep. And a lot more goes into how your body recovers during sleep than just the fact that your eyes are closed. So we'll get to that. And then relaxation. How do you manage stress? Stress management, self-care, those things. There's a reason we hammer that home every time we do a program. Because when you're talking about your health, you can't avoid taking care of you. It's important. And that includes pampering yourself, forgiving yourself, giving yourself grace, taking care of yourself, and putting yourself first, not last. And I will beat that to death into anybody. There will not be anything left of you to take care of all the other people who rely on you unless you put yourself first. So putting yourself first is the most selfless thing you can do. It is not in any way, shape, or form selfish, and you need to get that out of your head immediately. That is one of the things you cannot get around. You have to be your priority. And then, and only then, can you take care of others. Only then can you serve others. Only then can you be the best version of yourself and help the world around you. And then deep breathing exercises. And we talk about the vagus nerve. There's a couple of things that are really important to raising dopamine and helping the vagus nerve be healthy. Sauna, one of my favorite things to do. End every shower with 15 to 30 seconds of ice cold water. It's going to raise your dopamine. Do this in the morning, not before bed. If you shower before bed, please don't do this because you'll wake yourself up. But every morning after your shower, at the very end, turn it all the way to cold and immerse yourself for 15 to 30 seconds. Do deep breathing exercises throughout the day. We have all kinds of tutorials on how to do box breathing. There's all kinds of breathing exercises available. We've got some posted in the group. If you need more ideas, let me know. It's in our self-care document in the 90-day roadmap to success. There's all kinds of things like that. And exercise. Exercise is a great way to raise dopamine. Remember, exercise isn't about losing weight. Exercise is about building muscle, improving the endorphins, or neurotransmitters in your brain, and those are its primary. I mean, some people will lose weight and some people can burn fat. If you've done your genetics, you know this, that there's a small percentage of people who actually do burn fat when exercising, but it's small. Exercise is much more about how you feel. Respiration, VO2 max, dopamine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. Those are the important parts of exercising. And then getting sunlight, get outside, ground, walk barefoot, become one with nature, lay in the grass. All of those things help raise dopamine levels. So next time you're sitting around beating yourself up because you have ADD or you have ADHD or you can't concentrate or you're anxious or you're depressed, get out, do one of those things, understand what's happening physically, that your dopamine level is lowering, your serotonin levels are lowering, and you have to take action to raise those things. And remember that when you cheat on your diet, you cheat on you in every way. And each time you do that, you start over, and it sucks. So don't beat yourself up when it happens. We all fall off the wagon sometimes, but you get your ass right back on there and you keep going. So anyway, I hope that that video is helpful to some. I will expand on this topic because it is a topic I love, because I am a firm believer that my anxiety and my ADHD are my superpowers. They're what make me phenomenal, because I understand how to use them to my advantage. And I understand that they make me more sensitive. They make me more empathetic. They make me a better friend. They make me more passionate about what I do. And they make me who I am. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great night.